Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. How is everyone? Alhamdulillah. How was your break? Alhamdulillah. Okay, start with tafsir inshallah. We're going to listen to translations for lesson 6, verses 21 to 25. Please, for those of you who have the last edition, make sure to note down any changes inshallah. Okay?
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Lesson number 6, Surah Al-Baqarah, verses 21 to 25. Translation. Ya ayyuhan nasu, O people, u'budu, you all worship, Rabbakum, your Rabb, alladhi, the one who, khalaqakum, he created you all, walladhina, and the ones, min qablikum, before you all, la'allakum, so that you all, tattaqun, you all adopt taqwa, that is, consciousness of Allah. Alladhi, the one who, ja'ala, he made, lakum, for you all, al-arda, the earth, firasha, a smooth bed, was-sama, and the sky, bina'a, a roof, wa anzala, and he sent down, min, from as-sama, the sky, ma'a, water, فأخرج, then he brought out, bihi, with it, minat thamarat, all kinds of fruits, rizqa, as provision, lakum, for you all. فلا تجعلوا, so you all do not make, lillah, for Allah, andada, equals, rivals, wa antum, while you all, ta'lamun, you all know. Wa in, and if, kuntum, you all are, fi, in, raib, doubt, mimma, about what, nazzalna, we sent down, ala, upon, abadina, our worshipper, fa'tu bi surah, then you all bring a surah, mim mithlihi, like it, wad'u, and you all call, shuhada'akum, your witnesses, min duni, besides, Allah, Allah, in kuntum, if you all are truly, sadiqeen, ones who are truthful. Fa'in, then if, lam taf'alu, you all do not do, walan taf'alu, and you all can never do, fattaqu, then you all fear, an-nar, the fire, allati, the one which, waquduha, its fuel, an-nas, is the people, wal-hijarah, and the stones. U'iddat, it has been prepared, lil-kafirin, for the disbelievers. Wabashir, and you give good news to, alladhina, the ones who, amanu, they believed, wa'amilu, and they did, as-salihat, the righteous deeds, anna, that indeed, lahum, for them, jannat, are gardens, tajri, flow, min tahtiha, under them, al-anhar, the rivers. Kullama, whenever, ruziqu, they are provided, minha, within them, min thamarah, any fruit at all, rizqa, as provision. Qalu, they say, hada, this, alladhi, is that which, ruziqna, we were provided, min qabl, before, wa utu bihi, and they are given it, mutashabiha, as one that is similar. Walahum, and for them, fiha, in it, azwaj, are spouses, mutahharah, ones completely purified. Wahum, and they, fiha, in it, khalidun, are ones who remain eternally.
Okay, we'll continue tafsir with Sister Maryam. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الناس اعبدوا ربكم الذي خلقكم والذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. الذي جعل لكم الأرض فراشا والسماء بناء وأنزل من السماء ماء فأخرج به من الثمرات رزقا لكم فلا تجعلوا لله أندادا وأنتم تعلمون. وإن كنتم في ريب مما نزلنا على عبدنا فأتوا بسورة من مثله وادعوا شهداءكم من دون الله إن كنتم صادقين. فإن لم تفعلوا ولن تفعلوا فاتقوا النار التي وقودها الناس والحجارة أعدت للكافرين. وبشر الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات أن لهم جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار كلما رزقوا منها من ثمرة رزقا قالوا هذا الذي رزقنا من قبل وأتوا به متشابها ولهم فيها أزواج مطهرة وهم فيها خالدون.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My dear students, we are facing some technical difficulty at Al Huda Canada. Inshallah, it will be streamed soon. So in the meantime, please keep yourself productive, review your lesson, inshallah, until you start hearing from the Zoom. All right, everyone good? Okay. Busy yourself with the review, inshallah, as well as some dhikr. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Before we begin tafsir, we'll listen to the recitation from ayah 17 to ayah 25. 20, sorry, 20.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم مثلهم كمثل الذي استوقد نارا فلما أضاءت ما حوله ذهب الله بنورهم وتركهم في ظلمات لا يبصرون صم بكم عمي فهم لا يرجعون أو كصيب من السماء فيه ظلمات ورعد وبرق يجعلون أصابعهم في آذانهم من الصواعق حذر الموت والله محيط بالكافرين يكاد البرق يخطف أبصارهم كلما أضاء لهم مشوا فيه وإذا أظلم عليهم قاموا ولو شاء الله لذهب بسمعهم وأبصارهم إن الله على كل شيء قدير.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. How is everyone today? Alhamdulillah. نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي ربي زدني علما اللهم فقهنا في الدين اللهم إني أسألك علما نافعا وعملا متقبلا ورزقا طيبا اللهم انفعنا بما علمتنا وعلمنا ما ينفعنا وزدنا علما Ameen. Okay, so before we move on to lesson number 6, let's go back to lesson number 5, Surah Al-Baqarah, verses 17 to 20. This is the lesson that we completed yesterday. Okay. And in this lesson, examples are presented, right? Of what? Types of hypocrisy. So in verse number 17, what do we learn? مَثَلُهُمْ كَمَثَلِ الَّذِي اسْتَوْقَدَ نَارًا. Their example, meaning example of hypocrites, is that of one who kindled a fire. فَلَمَّا أَضَاءَتْ مَا حَوْلَهُ. But when it illuminated what was around him, meaning the fire that was kindled illuminated what was around him. Also, make note when it comes to the translation. The word falamma. So, lamma is what is known as a conditional particle. Okay, harf sharto. And in a conditional sentence, the past tense verb takes a present future tense meaning because of the presence of the harf shart, the conditional particle. And in this case, that is lamma. Okay? So, what is being implied here is that when the fire is illuminated, then what happens? There is brightness around this person. This person has access to knowledge, which brings about enlightenment. So, فَلَمَّا أَضَاءَتْ مَا حَوْلَهُ. But when it illuminated what was around him, ذَهَبَ اللَّهُ بِنُورِهِمْ. Allah took away their light. Their light. Initially, what was mentioned in the singular. One individual, right? But then there is a shift from singular to plural. Okay, why? Because when this one individual, had this light, was granted this light, what was around him became illuminated, right? So meaning there was also enlightenment for other people around him, right? And then Allah mentions, ذَهَبَ اللَّهُ بِنُورِهِمْ, Allah took away their light, external and internal. These people are around a fire whose light has been taken away, but this fire still burns. And Ibn al-Qayyim, he says the reason that Allah mentions the light issue is because Allah likens guidance to light. And Allah grants His special protection to those whom He gives His light to. Also, when it is mentioned with regards to the events that will take place on the Day of Judgment, the descriptions are mentioned in the Qur'an. Allah mentions the sun being eclipsed on the Day of Judgment, right? And that also refers to the light being taken away, but the heat still remaining, the warmth still remaining, because of which people will sweat profusely. So here also, ذَهَبَ اللَّهُ بِنُورِهِمْ, Allah took away their light, but the warmth is still there. وَتَرَكَهُمْ فِي ظُلُمَاتِ اللَّهِ يُبْصِرُونَ, and left them in darkness so they could not see. And so what becomes their state? صُمٌّ بُكْمٌ عُمْيٌ, deaf, mute, and blind. فَهُمْ لَا يَرْجِعُونَ, so they will not return to the right path. They will not return to guidance. So the fact that it is mentioned that Allah took away their light, keep in mind, Allah never does any zulm. He is never unjust in any way whatsoever. He doesn't do any zulm in this dunya. He doesn't do any zulm in terms of the hereafter. He is Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. So this removal of these people's light is because of their own wrongdoings. They have not been deprived just like that. Allah doesn't do anything just like that. There is divine wisdom involved in whatever He does, including depriving certain people of guidance because they themselves deviated. And so their state becomes deaf, mute, and blind. So they will not return to the right path. And then Allah mentions, through another example, أَوْ كَصَيِّبٍ مِّنَ السَّمَاءِ, or it is like a rainstorm from the sky. فِيهِ ظُلُمَاتٌ وَرَعْدٌ وَبَرْقٌ, within which is darkness, thunder, and lightning. يَجْعَلُونَ أَصَابِعَهُمْ فِي آذَانِهِمْ, they put their fingers in their ears against the thunderclaps in dread of death. وَاللَّهُ مُحِيطٌ بِالْكَافِرِينَ, but Allah is encompassing of the disbelievers. So the lightning is in reference to the light of faith that sometimes is felt in the hearts of the hypocrites. They thrust their fingers in their ears to keep out the stunning thunderclaps out of fear of death. But Allah encompasses the disbelievers, meaning their cautiousness, their precautionary measures don't benefit them. And Allah mentions the lightning almost snatches away their vision, meaning because the lightning is strong and the comprehension level of these people is weak. Their visions are weak. And so they do not embrace the faith completely. And Abdullah ibn Abbas, he commented, and he said the lightning almost snatches away their sight. The Qur'an mentioned almost all of the secrets of the munafiqeen, exposed them. And this is what would put them into what? A frightful state. And he says whenever it flashes for them, they walk therein, meaning whenever the hypocrites acquire a share in the victories of Islam, they are content with this share. And whenever there is some kind of sacrifice, some kind of calamity that befalls, sacrifice that is required, they are ready to revert towards disbelief. And again here, when it is mentioned that this example, like a rainstorm from the sky, within which is darkness, thunder, and lightning, they put their fingers in their ears against the thunderclaps in dread of death, but Allah is encompassing the disbelievers. يَكَادُ الْبَرْقُ يَخْطَفُ أَبْصَارَهُم. The lightning almost snatches away their sight. كُلَّمَا أَضَاءَ لَهُم مَشَوْا فِيهِ. Every time it lights the way for them, they walk therein. Now here also notice كُلَّمَا followed by أَضَاءَ. So كُلَّمَا, again here this is a conditional particle, حرف شرط. And so the term أضاء, it means it shed. But what did we learn? In a conditional sentence, the past tense verb takes a present future tense meaning. And then you will find the same happening in other words as well. So Abdullah ibn Abbas, he says, whenever it flashes for them, the lightning flashes for them, they walk therein. And when darkness covers them, they stand still. So meaning they recognize the truth and speak about it, so their speech becomes somewhat upright. But when they revert to disbelief, they again fall into confusion, wavering between belief and disbelief. And so on the day of judgment, the believers will be given a light according to the degree of their faith. And some of them will gain light that illuminates over a distance of several miles, some more, some less. Some people's light will actually glow sometimes and be extinguished at other times. And so they will walk upon the sirat, the bridge that is over the hellfire, in the light, stopping when it becomes extinguished. And think about how dangerous that is. Not having light when you need light the most, because below you is the hellfire, and you're actually on a very, very thin bridge. That is when the hypocrites are going to lose their light. Now, when it comes to hypocrisy in terms of deeds, so that is what is described here in verse number 19. The term sayyib in the meaning of heavy downpour, referring to revelation from Allah. Right? And dhulumat, darkness is, which is referring to doubts, a lot of love of dunya, right? Ignorance, considering ignorance to actually be bliss, inclination towards disbelief and towards misguidance. These are all dhulumat. And the term ra'd, which means thunder, referring to verses of divine revelation containing threats, warnings, exposure of the traits of the hypocrites, their schemes, their plots. So these kinds of verses in the Qur'an for the hypocrites are like what? Thunder. And then barq, which means lightning, referring to admonition, wa'adh. Verses of the divine revelation with clear admonitions and arguments. And when it comes to, again, hypocrisy in terms of deeds, what is mentioned in verse number 20 is that the lightning almost snatches away their vision. Every time it lights the way for them, they walk therein. Okay? So meaning when they have easy circumstances to deal with, or when the commands that are issued are relatively easy for them to follow, you see them walking. Mashawfi. And what happens? إِذَا أَظْلَمَ عَلَيْهِمْ. When darkness covers them. When they face challenges. When the circumstances and the commands are not so easy. Then what happens? قَامُوا. They stand still. They don't move. وَلَوْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ لَذَهَبَ بِسَمْعِهِمْ وَأَبْصَارِهِمْ. And if Allah had willed, He could have taken away their hearing and their sight. إِنَّ اللَّهَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. Indeed, Allah is over all things competent. He can do anything. And so, these faculties that we have been granted are, yes, huge blessings, but every blessing of this world comes with responsibility. And then also with what else? An accountability. So these faculties we have, yes, they're blessings, but we cannot forget the fact that these blessings come with a great deal of responsibility. And then a serious accountability as well. Okay. Now, as we look at lesson number 6, let's go through a brief recap. In Surah Al-Fatiha, we learned of a supplication for guidance, Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim. Allah granted us this book, the Quran, for guidance, informed us of who will obtain guidance from the Quran and who will not. The muttaqeen obtain guidance, they internalize guidance, they have certain traits. We learned about them in the beginning of Surah Al-Baqarah. Then we also learn about the kafirin, those who deny the truth. They don't internalize guidance, they reject it. And then we also learn about the hypocrites, who sometimes when it seems to be suitable for them in certain ways, they seemingly accept the guidance, and when it doesn't suit them, they reject it. Okay? So in Surah Al-Fatiha, we learn about three categories of people. Number one, الَّذِينَ أَنْعَمْتَ عَلَيْهِمْ. So these are also the people who are muttaqeen, al-muttaqeen, referred to as al-muttaqeen in Surah Al-Baqarah. Okay? The surah that comes right after Surah Al-Fatiha. Then also al-muflihun, the successful ones. All right? So the muttaqeen, think of all their traits. The muflihun, the truly successful ones, they are alladhina an'amta alayhim, mentioned in verses 1 to 5 of Surah Al-Baqarah. One category. Then you have mention of al-maghdubi alayhim in Surah Al-Fatiha. And when you look at Surah Al-Baqarah, you find mention of alladhina kafaru. And the fact that la yu'minun, whether you warn them, you do not warn them, they're not going to believe. So they're mentioned in verse number 6 and 7 of Surah Al-Baqarah. These kinds of people incur what? The wrath of Allah. Right? Because they might have some knowledge, but they don't have correct implementation. They may be exposed to the truth, but what do they do with it? Do they accept it? No, they reject it. Warnings do come to them, but they don't take them seriously. So this is another category that we've learned about. And then in Surah Al-Fatiha, we learn about al-dallin also. They're mentioned. We don't want to be amongst al-maghdub alayhim. We don't want to be amongst al-dallin either. Right? And al-dallin, those who are astray, meaning those who lack sound knowledge. And of course, they lack correct implementation as well. Right? So they're mentioned in verses 8 to 20 of Surah Al-Baqarah. Right? And they're described as those who have fi qulubihim marad, spiritual imbalance, right? Weak faith. And it is mentioned about them clearly that they are not muhtadeen. They are not guided, even though they might make claims that they are. They are just claims. They may say, amanna, we believe, but they actually don't. And also their state is described as what? Summun, bukmun, umyun, fahum la yarji'un. Okay. Now, after mentioning these three categories of people, muttaqeen, kafirin, and thirdly, munafiqeen, all of mankind is being invited to worship Allah. Okay. Whether these people are men, women, free human beings, or slaves, even disbelievers and hypocrites, every nation, every race, every age bracket, people of all different kinds of backgrounds, all of mankind is addressed. So the khitab meaning address, is am. Am means general. Because Allah declares, as we learn in Surah Al-Dhariyat, verse 56, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. And I created the jinn and men, I created not the jinn and men except that they should worship me alone. Okay? So Allah does not just create His creation and leave them. He also guides them. He also guides them. And He also reminds them of what it is that they need to be reminded of. Now, you could also look at these first few verses of Surah Al-Baqarah from the perspective that before verse number 21, there is mention of three types of people. This is kind of like the preface. Okay? The muttaqeen are mentioned, the kuffar are mentioned, and the munafiqeen are mentioned. And then the real purpose of our lives is mentioned very clearly. And that is why this book was revealed, to teach us the purpose of our lives. This is why messengers were sent, to remind us of what? The purpose of our lives. So keep in mind the importance of what we've studied so far. We've learned about 3 different categories of people. And now there is a general address, and all of mankind is being invited. Ya ayyuhan nas, O mankind, O people, u'abudu rabbakum, worship your Lord. This is the first nida of the Quran. Nida means calling. And this term ya is what is known as harf nida. Okay? So meaning it's a term that is used to call out to someone, to address someone. Okay? So what is harf nida? It's a term that is used to do what? Call out to someone or to address someone. Just like, when you're trying to get someone's attention, you say, oh, so and so. You use the term oh. This is harf nida, right? And this nida comes something like 18 times in the Quran. And in fact, alladhina amanu meaning those who believe, are also addressed specifically 89 times. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. And this kind of address to mankind is mentioned twice in Surah Al-Baqarah. Ya ayyuhan nas. Now, the term an-nas you are familiar with, right? What can you tell me about this word? It is actually al-unas, okay? And unas is referring to people, mankind. What are some root letters that you have learned when it comes to the term an-nas? Hamza, Nun, Sin, from which we derive uns, then also Nun, Waw, Sin, from which we derive nos, and Nun, Sin, Ya, from which you derive nisyan. Okay. Now, an-nas, al over here is giving the meaning of all. Because we learned earlier, right? If you go back to lesson 1, that al can take on the meaning of the, but also what else? All. So when we learned alhamdu, al in that context also means what? All. Okay. So here also, al is taking on the meaning of all. All people are being addressed, all types of people. All of us, all of our friends, all of our family members, every single one is included. Ya ayyuhan nas, O people, u'abudu, worship. You all worship. And when we find this exclamation mark in our word-to-word translation, what indication does that give? That this is a command. So a command is being given by Allah to whom? All people, including all of us. Now, the word u'abudu is from the root letters ayn, ba, dal. Okay, ayn, ba, dal. From which we derive the term abd. What does abd mean? Slave. Okay. And a slave is always obedient to the master. So this is the command to all people. U'budu, you all worship. The waw at the end here, u'budu, indicating plural. Because all people are addressed, right? And abada ya'abudu, it means to show devotion and servitude before another. Abada ya'abudu, it means to show devotion and servitude before another. How? with a lot of love and respect. With a lot of love and respect. And also fear. And this fear is a reverent kind of fear. Okay? So in other words, it is to humble oneself before another with a lot of love and a lot of respect. And it's also ibadah. Worship is also the name of specific aqwal, meaning statements, and af'al, meaning actions. So this command, u'budu, means do what your creator commands you to do. Be a slave to your creator, not to society, not to popular trend, not even your own desires, what you like, what you dislike, what your mood is. Be most of all subservient before the one who created you. Rabbakum, your Rabb. And Rabb is whom? What do you know about Rabb? He is Khaliq, Malik, and Mudabbir. He is creator and also owner and also planner and provider and sustainer. Many times we come to the recognition that Allah is our creator because we all know we didn't create ourselves. Most people will come to that understanding and that acknowledgement that, we didn't create ourselves. Because had we been able to do that, perhaps we would have looked different. So coming to that realization is maybe easy. But Rabb doesn't only mean Khaliq. Rabb also means Malik. That realization, many people don't really come to fully. So tell yourself, I'm completely owned by Allah. Completely owned by Him. And see how that feels. Check yourself. Are you fully accepting of that? That you're completely owned by Him? He's your owner. And not just that then. He's also Mudabbir. He plans for you. Meaning He planned your form, your shape, when you were born, how long you will live, when you will return back to Him. Are you fully accepting of that also? Have you really submitted? Are you truly in ubudiyah? Servitude. Ubudiyah means what? Servitude. The command here is very simple. U'budu rabbakum. Worship your Rabb. And what does it mean to worship? Submit yourself fully. Show complete servitude. So worship your Rabb. Be fully humble before Him. Listen to Him. Obey Him. Love Him the most. Fear Him the most. Respect Him the most. Honor Him the most. Abdullah ibn Abbas, he says this means wahidu rabbakum. U'budu rabbakum means wahidu rabbakum. Consider your Rabb to be one and unique. No one is at His level. And also this implies worship Allah so that He is your matalub, maqsood, and mahbub. Okay, now let's look at that. What does that mean? Worship Allah so He is your number one matalub. Matalub from talab, ta'lamba. What is talab? Yearning. Talab is yearning. Okay. When you have eagerness for something, you have talab. Like when you are talib of ilm, talibul ilm, what does that mean? You have talab for what? Knowledge. You're pursuing knowledge. You're a student. Okay. So worship Allah so He is your matlub, meaning you yearn for Him and His approval of you. You wish to be most of all seen and heard by Him. That's what matters most to you. Think about how, a true talib of ilm is going to do what?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I know. Salma. Okay. Please do istighfar. Okay, my dear sisters and brothers, because I think we are having technical issue today. Allahu musta'an. Make dua and also review what Sister Mariam was telling you right now. Don't worry, whatever you miss, inshallah, we'll give you the audio recording of the tafsir. Okay, it will be posted on the portal, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
It is a comprehensive term. لكل ما يحبه الله ويرضاه من الأقوال والأعمال الباطنة والظاهرة, which comprises everything that Allah loves and approves of from the apparent and hidden sayings and deeds. So in this context, as-salah, az-zakah, as-siyam, al-hajj, truthfulness in speech, trustworthiness, kindness to parents, maintaining good relations with relatives, fulfilling pledges, promises, enjoining the good and forbidding the evil, striving against those who do kufr and the munafiqeen, benevolence even with the neighbors, the orphans, the poor people, the travelers, and even being kind towards slaves, towards animals even, dua, dhikr, qira'ah of the Quran. All of these are included within al-ibadah. Then also Ibn Taymiyyah, he elaborates, and he says, likewise, loving Allah and loving His Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, apprehension before Allah, returning repeatedly, repentantly to Him, sincerity in the deen for Him, patience with His ordainment, thankfulness for His bounties, contentment with His decree, dependence upon Him, hope for His mercy, fear of His punishment, and the like are also all part of al-ibadah. Worship includes being grateful, praying on time, reciting the Quran, being merciful to your parents, helping the neighbor, forgiving someone, having a good supposition of Allah, and being patient for the sake of Allah. So think of the ways that you can and should worship Allah. In fact, worshiping Allah is the beloved purpose that we all need to be very clear about. It's the reason of our existence. So when it comes to ibadah, you can also say that it sort of stands on three main pillars. Number one, utmost love. Number two, utmost hope. And number three, utmost fear. We must love Allah the most. We should have most hope in Him, His mercy. And we should fear Him the most. We also learned Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that Allah said, Ya bana Adam, tafarragh bi'ibadati, O son of Adam, be free for my worship, and I will fill your heart with riches and alleviate your poverty. If you do not do so, I will fill your hands with problems and never alleviate your poverty. Now, who doesn't want richness of the heart? Who doesn't want alleviation from poverty? Everybody wants that. The way to gain is to do what? The way to gain this is to do what? Worship Allah on His terms. And in order to be able to do this, you need to gain knowledge. So the first address here in the Quran, addressing all of mankind, draws our attention towards ibadah. Ya ayyuhan nas u'budu rabbakum. People worship your Rabb. And what is the dalil, the evidence that you should worship him? Who is Rabb, Khaliq, Malik, Mudabbir, Alladhi khalaqakum, who created you? He created you. You should worship him. So Alladhi here referring to Rabb. And the word khalaqakum from kha, lam, qaf. Khalaqakum, he created you all. And khalq means creation. Takhliq means to create, to bring into existence. So the term khalaqa, it basically means to use some matter and bring into existence what is to be brought into existence. The first human being was made from dust. So here we're being reminded of our origin, how we were brought into existence. So think about it. Who were you? What kind of identity did you have 200 years ago? And the response is none. So all of us, we were actually brought into existence by our Rabb. So worship your Rabb, Alladhi khalaqakum, who created you, وَالَّذِينَ مِن قَبْلِكُمْ, and those before you. In Surah Al-Insan also we learned in the first verse, هَلْ أَتَى عَلَى الْإِنسَانِ حِينٌ مِنَ الدَّهْرِ لَمْ يَكُنْ شَيْئًا مَذْكُورًا. Has there not come upon man a period of time when he was not a thing even mentioned? And yes, 200 years ago, there was no mention of us. No, we didn't have passports. We didn't have any ID. No name. So who granted us all of this and much more? Rabb. He owns us. He created us. So we must worship him, love him the most, have most amount of hope in him, and also fear him the most. So he created us as well as those who came before us. وَالَّذِينَ مِن قَبْلِكُمْ. And why is this mentioned over here? Because we need to reflect upon the circumstances of those before us as well. How they used to exist in this world and then they departed when it was time for them to depart. So he created them. Allah created them and then caused them to die. We have also been created, and one day we will also die. So we need to submit wholeheartedly, completely, fully before Allah, before that time of departure from this world arrives. And this submission of ours before Allah, complete submission, this worship of ours, will it benefit him? No. Not at all. Who will it benefit? Us. And here where it is mentioned, that, O people, worship your Rabb who created you and those before you. وَالَّذِينَ مِن قَبْلِكُمْ. Min qablikum, notice this. Min means from. And qablikum, qabl from qaf ba lam. Qabl means before. So referring to those who lived before you. From the time of Adam, the first human being, the time of Adam alayhi salam onwards. Each human that came into existence, created by Allah, brought into existence through the means that Allah controls for a purpose, and that is to worship Allah. So all of us are his creation. He created us, so he wants what is best for us. Now also keep in mind that, when you at the human level make something with your own hands, think about something you've made with your own hands. Don't you have like a deeper attachment with that something? If you maybe cooked something yourself this morning, don't you have like a deeper attachment with it? You don't want that to be like tossed away. You put in time, you made it, you value it. Just like, when you kind of like build a home, purpose built, you design it. It's yours, belongs to you. You take special care of it. Much more than, a house that maybe you're just renting. Keep in mind, Allah at the divine level, and no one is at his level. No one is at his level. He is not just Khaliq, creator. He's also Malik.
Whatever it is that he has created, he completely owns. We have been created and we're owned by him. We need to worship him. We learn that Umar ibn al-Khattab, he reports, some prisoners of war were brought to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and a breastfeeding woman was among them. Whenever she found a child amongst the prisoners, she would take it to her breast and try to nurse it. So in other words, this woman was missing her child. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to us, do you think this woman would throw her child in the fire? So we said, no, not if she's able to stop that. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Allah is more merciful to his slaves than a mother is to her child. So when Allah gives us this command, "U'budu rabbakum," in this is our betterment. In this is our betterment. This is a manifestation of Allah's mercy that He invites us towards the purpose of our existence, recognizing the purpose of our existence. So, when you come across any command in the Qur'an from this point onwards, look at it from this perspective. This hukum is from the one who loves you much, 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 much more than your mother could ever love you, or your father could ever love you, or any other human being could ever love you. Even though that command might feel like lightning or thunder, in it is your betterment. And then the benefit associated with ibadah, with worship, has been mentioned. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. So that you all adopt taqwa. Now, the word la'alla, it gives the meaning of hope, expected consequence or result. And also, at times, it gives the meaning of reason. Illa is that which produces an effect. It gives reason, motive, cause. So why should you people, all people, worship Allah? What is the reason? This is the reason. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. And the word tattaqun, from waw, qaf, ya, from which we derive the term taqwa, which is consciousness of Allah. And muttaqeen is a term that we learned earlier also from the same root letters. Muttaqeen are ones who have taqwa, consciousness of Allah. And here, when you look at this term, tattaqun, beginning with ta, it gives the meaning of you. Okay? And waw noon ending indicating plural. So the great rank of taqwa cannot be achieved by anyone who doesn't really take out time to worship Allah on His terms. To worship Allah on His terms, you need taqwa. And to acquire taqwa, you need to worship. And taqwa has to do with taking precautionary measures and saving yourself from what it is that displeases Allah. Mindfully avoiding everything that might lead to Allah's disapproval and His punishment. So how should you worship Allah? In a manner that He likes, not according to your own self-devised ways. So really, in this there is great encouragement to gain knowledge that is beneficial. So this verse combines the command to worship Allah alone and the prohibition with regards to worshipping anything other than Him. And the words لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ may be understood as meaning that if you worship Allah alone, then you will avoid His wrath.
and His punishment. Or it may mean that if you worship Allah alone, you will become one of the pious ones who are described as fearing Allah. And then we find next that certain dala'il, certain evidences are presented with regard to why we must worship Allah exclusively, regularly, with utmost love and respect and fear, consistently on His terms. Okay? All right, let's listen to the recitation of this first verse.
الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الناس اعبدوا ربكم الذي خلقكم والذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون
الذي جعل لكم الأرض فراشا. He who made for you the earth a bed spread out. He's the one you are to worship. He who made for you the earth a bed spread out. The term ja'ala from jim ayn lam. Ja'ala means to put. It can also mean to make. Just like we learned yaj'alun in the previous lesson, right? And ja'ala, as we learned earlier, means to take from one state to another state. And you see the words that sound like fa'ala, fa'ala, they give the meaning of he did something. Okay, that's a basic meaning. So khalaqa, he created, right? Dhahaba, he went. We've learned these terms. Khatama, he placed a seal, he sealed. Right? And here, ja'ala, he made. The one who made for you the earth a smooth bed. Now here also we need to contextualize the meaning of ja'ala. Here, ja'ala cannot be translated as he put. Here it means he made. So he made for you all the earth, al-arda, firasha, a smooth bed. Now this word firasha, from fa ra shin, is from the word farasha. Farasha means to level something, to pave something. So firash is that which is spread out. Because when you spread out something, you tend to want to also level it. Okay? So that there is greater comfort associated with it. So Allah has made the earth for us like a carpet is laid out. Like a bedding is spread out. Meaning, number one, open and spacious. Number two, suitable to settle upon. And number three, comfortable, a place of sukoon. As we learn in Surah An-Naba also, verse 6, Alam naj'alil arda mihada. Have we not made the earth a resting place? Mihad is a term that is used for a cradle for a baby. And when you look at the term firashan, it ends with tanween. Okay? The double fatha that you see at the end, tanween. Okay, it's known as tanween. And this tanween, the presence of this tanween at the end indicates that this is actually an ism, it's a noun. So it's a common noun. And that is why in the translation you will find a smooth bed. Not the, a. There's no al here, there's tanween at the end. It's a common noun. The one who made for you the earth a smooth bed, meaning open, spacious, you don't feel constricted upon it. It's habitable, it's suitable. All of your needs are taken care of it upon it. It's a place of sukoon, you can walk about upon it easily. Even though when you think about it, the earth is moving at great speeds. But do we sense that? Not at all. We think we're actually pretty stationary when we're actually not. We're moving around at great speeds. الَّذِي جَعَلَ لَكُمُ الْأَرْضَ فِرَاشًا. He who made for you the earth a bed spread out. وَالسَّمَاءَ بِنَاءً. And the sky a ceiling. And we learned this term, sama, before as well, right? Sama is used for what? The sky. What is above you? And here in this context, the sky. The word bina'an means a roof. Again, notice bina'an ending with tanween, right? Double fatha. And again, this is an indication, this is a common noun. So bina, the term bina, from the root letters ba, nun, ya. Bina is used for something that is constructed or built. It's also used for roof, because a roof is also constructed. It can apply to an entire structure, and it can also apply to part of a structure. However, make note that if this word bina'an is used in contrast with firashan, like it is here, right? Then the term bina'an means canopy or roof, which is basically part of a structure, right? So here we're being reminded of where it is that we are dwelling temporarily, by design, not accidentally. We didn't just like randomly end up here upon this earth under the sky. This is not accidental. You know, one fine day there was this big bang and we all just kind of randomly appeared. We have been placed here. We're being reminded of this. It is He, Allah, your Rabb, the one you should worship, who made for you the earth a bed spread out, and the sky a ceiling. Now, for a moment, just stop and think about this reality. الَّذِي جَعَلَ لَكُمُ الْأَرْضَ فِرَاشًا. He who made for you the earth a bed spread out. The earth actually zooms through its orbit on an average velocity of 18.5 miles per second. Per second. And during this circuit, our planet, the Earth, is an average of 93 million miles away from the sun, a distance that takes light about 8 minutes to traverse. And at the planet's heart lies the inner core, right? You've all studied science enough to know this. So this inner core is basically a solid sphere of iron and nickel, which is 759 miles wide and as hot as 9,800 degrees Fahrenheit. That's hot. The inner core is surrounded by the outer core, which is a 1,400-mile thick band of iron and nickel fluids. Beyond the outer core lies the mantle, which is an 1,800-mile thick layer of basically molten rock on which the Earth's outermost layer, the crust, rests. Think about the bigger picture. On land, the continental crust is an average of 19 miles thick. That's it. But the oceanic crust that forms the seafloor is thinner, about 3 miles thick, and denser. Earth's atmosphere is 78% nitrogen. So think above, now that you know what's below. Think above. What's above you? 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, and 1% other gases, including carbon dioxide, water vapor, and other gases. Much like a greenhouse, the blanket of gases absorbs and retains heat. On average, Earth's surface temperature is about 57 degrees Fahrenheit. Without our atmosphere, it would be 0 degrees. And, you know, we do know that in the last 2 centuries, humans have added enough greenhouse gases to the atmosphere to raise the Earth's average temperature by 1.8 degrees Fahrenheit. And this extra heat has altered Earth's weather patterns in many ways. So the atmosphere not only nourishes life on Earth, but it also protects it. It's thick enough that many meteorites from space burn up before impact from friction and its gases. And 90% of Earth's atmosphere lies within just 10 miles of the planet's surface. Now, keeping these figures and this reality in mind, think about what is mentioned here. O mankind, worship your Rabb. Who is he? الَّذِي جَعَلَ لَكُمُ الْأَرْضَ فِرَاشًا وَالسَّمَاءَ بِنَاءً. He who made for you the earth a bed spread out, and the sky a ceiling, and you feel safe, although there is always underneath you and also above you so much that can damage you. So much. But Allah has made all of this safe for you. Meaning, what it is that He has given form to, this earth and then the sky above us also, it's all safe for us. The sky is a solid structure. As we learn in Surah An-Naba, verse number 12, وَبَنَيْنَا فَوْقَكُمْ سَبْعًا شِدَادًا, and He constructed above you 7 strong heavens. In Surah Al-Anbiya, verse 32, we learn وَجَعَلْنَا السَّمَاءَ سَقَفًا مَحْفُوظًا, and we made the sky a protected ceiling. So there's so much that could actually harm us, but it doesn't harm us. Because Allah loves us more than actually we love our own selves. There is so much we don't even know we need protection from. But Allah grants us protection because He knows we need that protection. In Surah Al-Ra'd, we learn in verse number 2, Allahu alladhi rafa'a as-samawati bighayri amadin tarawnaha. It is Allah who erected the heavens without pillars that you can see. And then He further mentions وَأَنزَلَ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ مَاءً, and He sent down from the sky rain. And again, what is meant by as-sama is what is above, including clouds. Now notice this term as-sama is mentioned twice here, right? The first time we learned this word here in this context, in this verse, it took on the meaning of sky. And the second time, really, it is referring to clouds. Because rain descends from clouds. And when it comes to precipitation also, precipitation forms in the clouds when water vapor condenses into bigger and bigger droplets of water. When the drops are heavy enough, they fall to the earth. If a cloud is colder, like it would be at higher altitudes, the water droplets may freeze to form ice. These ice crystals then fall to the earth as snow or hail or rain, depending on the temperature within the cloud and at the earth's surface. Most rain actually begins as snow high in the clouds. As the snowflakes fall through warmer air, they become raindrops. And particles of dust or smoke in the atmosphere are essential for precipitation. And these particles, called condensation nuclei, provide a surface for water vapor to condense upon. And this helps water droplets gather together and become large enough to fall to the earth. A common misconception is that when raindrops fall, they have a teardrop shape. Isn't that what all of us think? In fact, smaller raindrops, ones that are approximately 1 millimeter across, are almost perfectly spherical. They're almost perfectly spherical. Larger raindrops, like 2 to 3 millimeters across, are also round, but with a small indent on the bottom side. They look more like kidney beans when falling to the earth. Very large raindrops, larger than 4.5 millimeters, have a huge indent. And they actually look more like parachutes. So there's so much actually we don't know. And think about the amount of water that descends. If it's been raining for like an entire day. But how that water comes down gradually. It doesn't just all descend in one go. Clear manifestations of Allah's mercy. Reasons why we should wholeheartedly, regularly worship Him on his terms. And then here Allah reminds us, فَأَخْرَجَ بِهِ مِنَ الثَّمَرَاتِ رِزْقًا لَكُمْ. And he brought forth thereby fruits as provision for you. فَأَخْرَجَ from kha, ra, jim. Ikhraj means to bring out. فَأَخْرَجَ بِهِ. And he brought out with it. Be over here means through, basically. He brought forth through this rainfall all kinds of fruits. Mina thamarat. Now here, notice how mina thamarat has been combined. Min is of tanawwur, meaning it gives variety. So all kinds of thamarat. And the term thamarat, plural of thamrah. The alif ta at the end here indicating feminine plural. And as we learned earlier also, nouns in the Arabic language, like other languages as well, have genders, masculine or feminine. Okay, so he brought out with it, meaning through this rainfall that descends, all kinds of fruits of different varieties. رِزْقًا لَكُمْ, as provision for you all. And there's so much about fruits that we don't know about. We're only discovering. Like, for example, a pineapple is not an apple. It's actually a berry. And each pineapple plant only produces one pineapple per year. Most fruits develop in 3 to 4 months. But it takes about 18 months to 2 years for a pineapple to grow to its full size. Bananas are the most popular fruit in the world. In fact, over 100 billion bananas are eaten around the world every year. And around 51% of these are eaten at breakfast time. A strawberry has an average of about 200 seeds. A pomegranate can contain up to 1,000 seeds. So Allah produces various kinds of fruits from the soil on this earth that pretty much appears to us to be the same. Right? And then, of course, the rain that descends, which to us also appears to be the same. And the sunlight, which also appears to us to be the same. Rain descends upon the ground. Sunlight reaches the ground. And then you have all these different varieties of fruits being generated. So what should we do in recognition of all of these blessings? فَلَا تَجْعَلُوا لِلَّهِ أَنْدَادًا. So do not attribute to Allah equals. Who's being told this? Because this is a command, right? In fact, a prohibition. Who is being commanded this? Who was the address to in the beginning? Ya ayyuhan nas. O people. When such is the case, and you know that this is the case and you cannot deny it, you need to recognize this. فَلَا تَجْعَلُوا لِلَّهِ أَنْدَادًا. So do not attribute to Allah equals. And again, تَجْعَلُوا from jim, ayn, lam. Ja'ala means to take from one state to another state. And here, فَلَا تَجْعَلُوا, so you all do not make lillahi, for Allah, andadan, equals or rivals. The term andad, plural of nid, from nun dal dal. And again, andadan, ending with the double fatha, tanween. So this is then referring to any kind of co-equal, peer, rival, partner. The term nid is used for one who shares some characteristics or a position or even some kind of work with another. Okay, so nid takes on the meaning of rival and also equal, co-equal. Now this term, andad, it takes on a negative connotation. And it conveys the sense of a rival, the meaning of a rival. So do not set for Allah equals. In other words, don't worship others as you worship Allah. Don't believe about others what you believe about Allah, because there is no one like him. No one is at his maqam. His maqam, his position is unparalleled. That's just how it is. That's the default. Whether you recognize it, you don't recognize it, it doesn't matter. That's his maqam. It's unparalleled. So make sure that in your little tiny life, in the bigger picture, his maqam is also unparalleled in your life. You worship him on his terms, meaning you love him the most, you fear him the most, you have most amount of hope in him. And then keep the rest of the creation that Allah has created where they belong. So فَلَا تَجْعَلُوا لِلَّهِ أَنْدَادًا. So do not attribute to Allah equals وَأَنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ, while you know that there is no one similar to Allah. And the term ta'lamun from Ain Lam Mim, from which we derive the term ilm. Ilm means knowledge. And again, the term ta'lamun ending with waw noon, this is plural. The ta at the beginning giving the meaning of you. Earlier, we learned about munafiqeen, right? Hypocrites. And what did we learn about them? One of their traits is that la ya'lamun. They don't know. They don't know what they should know. They think they know, and then sometimes they have the approach that ignorance is bliss. The less you know, the better off you are. Which again indicates they don't know what they need to know. Because ignorance is not bliss. And here all of mankind is being addressed. Invited towards worshipping Allah on his terms. And then the clear prohibition is فَلَا تَجْعَلُوا لِلَّهِ أَنْدَادًا وَأَنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. So do not attribute to Allah equals while you know. Know what? That Allah created this earth. He created the skies. He sent down rain. He brought forth fruits as provision for you. When you know that He alone does all of this and much, much more as well, then don't worship others instead of Him or along with Him. He alone deserves your worship. إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ is what we declare mindfully, not just half-heartedly. So what do we learn from this? Number one, Allah has favored us, blessed us, created us, given us form, created us as human beings. Allah has made this earth a bed for us, like a bed, soft and comfortable. We rest upon it. If it was tough and hard, it would be impossible for us to dwell upon it. We can dig into the ground. We can build on top of it. We can jump on this earth. We can run on this earth. He made the sky as a ceiling, which gives us a sense of security and contentment. Allah sent down water for us, and through this brought forth fruits. And notice how Allah first mentions, O people, worship your Rabb. And then He mentions, do not set up equals with Him. Now, from the beginning, in terms of what it is that we have studied so far, we've learned about taqwa, we've learned about kufr also, we've learned about nifaq also, we've learned about ibadah also, tawheed, shirk. All of these concepts are made clear right at the beginning. Because to reject the truth after having knowledge about it is a great crime. Refusing to worship Allah after having been granted His recognition is a serious matter. So we walk upon this earth that Allah has facilitated. We sleep on it also. We eat from what it is that He has provided us, and still we don't listen to Him? We associate others with Him? Is that right? That's not at all right. Give credit where credit is due. Our Creator has the greatest right upon us. We could not have bought our limbs and our faculties from somewhere. We couldn't have downloaded our eyes or our hearts. Allah facilitated all of this for us. So should we then, using these eyes and faculties, become slaves to other than Allah? No. And also keep in mind, when a person doesn't become a slave of Allah, right? Then he becomes the slave of his nafs or shaitan. That's very problematic. And this is why we learned that Ibn al-Qayyim, he said, هَرِبُوا مِنَ الرِّقِّ الَّذِي خُلِقُ لَهُ وَبُلُوا بِرِقِّ النَّفْسِ وَالشَّيْطَانِ. They ran away from the worship of Allah, meaning people in general. They ran away from the worship of Allah that they were created for. And they fell in the test of servitude to the nafs, the inner self, and shaitan. That's what happened. And think about it. Servitude to the nafs and shaitan. What is that all about? What does it mean for some human being to be a slave of his own nafs? How does that even happen? Can you identify what that means? Okay, so repeat that in the mics that our online sisters can hear as well.
Becoming a slave to your nafs, you will continue to want more and more and more, and you will never be grateful for anything.
And you will continue to want more and more of what? What
Material
is of
things.
real benefit to you?
Material things.
Just what gives you maybe some instant gratification, right?
Yes.
That's it. But your limited instant gratification in the bigger picture is not always what is good for you. It's actually many times what is very bad for you. Take the example of food choices. If you become a slave to your nafs only, right, and you want like instant gratification, you want something that just gives you like a buzz straight away, sugar boost, then what are you going to gravitate towards all the time in terms of your food selection? Sugary items, right? That are not really actually very wholesome. They don't really benefit you in the long run. These are not tayyibat, good wholesome foods. And so this is highly problematic. You've become then what? A slave to your own nafs only. And then how does a person become a slave to shaitan? A slave of shaitan. How? Think of some example. I mean, some people might consciously actually say, okay, we are devil worshippers, but we're not talking about that necessarily. What could this mean, to become a slave of shaitan? Okay, consciously wanting to, making that choice of listening to, lyrics, music that takes you away from your focus, your purpose in life, what you've been created to do. Makes you sinful. Because that is actually the voice of shaitan, isn't it? And then also giving in to his whisperings, his evil incitements. He's whispering to you some really negative thoughts about someone. Really negative. And you can identify a negative thought. But then you choose to follow it. And you follow it every time. So much so that it becomes like a part of who you are. This is becoming a slave of shaitan. We have to shun these kinds of thoughts and say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Because we are designed to be, we are created to be slaves of Allah, not the nafs and shaitan. Okay, let's listen to the recitation of verse 22.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الناس اعبدوا ربكم الذي خلقكم والذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون الذي جعل لكم الأرض فراشا والسماء بناء وأنزل من السماء ماء فأخرج به من الثمرات رزقا لكم فلا تجعلوا لله أندادا وأنتم تعلمون.
Okay, So now take a minute to discuss amongst yourselves what you learned, and then we'll hear some reflections, inshallah, from you before we continue. Okay, who is ready to share a reflection? What did you discuss? What did you learn from these verses so far? Yes, go ahead.
Me and Aisha were talking about how like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He not only just commands us, right? He gives us His dalil like right after. He shows us through His provisions, through His creations, that He's Al-Khaliq. And so, and then also further on in other surahs, like you mentioned, Surah Anbiya, Surah Naba, it's constant like evidence to us. And I think it's also like proves that it's within our natural disposition, it's within our fitrah to worship. So it's up to us after reading this and, you know, what do we do? Do we give in to our nafs? Do we give in to waswas? So it's a good reminder.
Yeah. Also, it becomes easier for us to recognize that real happiness is actually in the worship of Allah. Right? Not in becoming enslaved to the nafs or shaitan or anything of this dunya. The moment you as a human being make anything of this dunya, this temporary abode, your matloob, maqsood and mahboob, does it not lead to unhappiness? If it's, for example, even like some wrong food choices we discussed, or music, for example. If someone makes that like their go-to in life, their main source of happiness, is it really? Is it really a lasting source of happiness? Sugary foods? How happy can you be with this? And for how long? Soon enough, what's going to happen? You might develop, may Allah protect us all, diabetes. Isn't that so? And if, you know, someone makes music, for example, their main go-to for happiness, for how long? And what are the lyrics of, you know, the music that one chooses to listen to going to do to a person? What kind of mindset will a person develop, right? How is this going to be therapeutic forever? How is this going to take a person out of problems forever? Many times, music revolves around just what? Surging emotions. Either just like a lot of happiness or a lot of sadness. And if a person is going through some setback in life, right, some problem, financial difficulty, relationship issues, and then a person resorts to listening to music, and that also sad music, how is this therapeutic? What are you gaining? Is it solving the problem? Is it taking the unhappiness away? Not really. It's just a type of like pacification, distraction. And also it disconnects a person from Allah. A person doesn't choose to connect with Allah and turn towards Him and say, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ اهْدِنَا الصِّرَاطَ الْمُسْتَقِيمُ, recognizing that only Allah can take unhappiness away from a person. Only He can grant relief. A person loses that focus, right? And becomes distracted in something that is not good. So, what a huge manifestation of Allah's mercy that He reminds all of us of what we all need to be reminded of. And that is our identity, who we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be devoted worshippers of Allah. Okay, what else did you reflect upon? Yes, Fatima. Is your mic working?
Yeah, it's working.
Okay.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Yes.
Me and the sisters were just talking about how generous and how giving Allah Azza wa Jal is, that He's the one who created us and He's the one who's planning our lives for us. And then He's giving us all the resources and everything that we need to be successful. And then, inshallah, when we all are successful, He's the one who's giving us eternity and eternal happiness. And He's not gaining anything from this. So it's just like, how can we rely on and trust and depend on anything else, anyone else, when we know who Allah is, and we know that He's even more merciful than our mothers, subhanAllah. So it's just, it's like the relationship that we can develop with Allah is not just, oh, He's telling me to do this, so I have to do that. It's so deeply rooted in love and mercy and hope. And subhanAllah, that's so beautiful that we have this in Islam.
Think about any relationship that you have with any human being that is based upon a lot of mercy. Like parents would be, one example, but then you could think of other examples as well. In those relationships, we do inevitably experience some setback, some pain, some strife. Isn't it so? That also has a reason. This is also not random. This also happens for a reason. So that we identify that the relationship that matters actually the most is our relationship with our Creator. There is no relationship that really is at that level, that maqam. That's the most important relationship that we need to be concerned about maintaining and improving throughout our lives. But really, is it that way for us? And many times we remain very unhappy in life because we haven't figured that out. We're just involved in too much of people pleasing. And the more we focus on people pleasing, the unhappier we become, because what do we discover? You just cannot please them. And when you identify this person, I love this person the most, I'm going to please this person, eventually you find out that what pleases that person changed. They changed their mind. They used to like a certain matter, a certain activity or, something from you. Now they've changed. They don't like that anymore. So isn't it liberating to know that this is the purpose of our design, the purpose of our existence, that we worship Allah, meaning love Him the most, have most amount of hope in Him, and fear Him the most also. Okay, anything else before we continue? Yes, Abdullah.
Yeah, just elaborating on the previous point. Like every single time Allah commands us to do something, like "U'budu rabbakum," for example, or like "Fala taj'alu lillahi andada," Allah always mentions like the favors He's bestowed upon us. Like He created us. Had it not been for Him, we wouldn't be existing. So that's why we should worship Him. He owns us, and He deserves worship. And like above that,
not only does he prove to us that he deserves to be worshipped, this is also for our betterment. He gains nothing from this. So it's just like he's so merciful, and yet we turn away from him.
Yeah. And this is why we've been told, right? فَلَا تَجْعَلُوا لِلَّهِ أَنْدَادًا. Do not set up co-equals. Do not set up rivals with Allah, while you know that only He deserves to be worshipped. Yes, go ahead. Your name again? You raised your hand? Yeah.
My name is Manal. Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum
I
assalam wa
seen
rahmatullah.
this video, I think last night, and it was talking about, I don't know if it's Iblis or the one who's going to come with the one eye.
Okay, speak a little bit louder. I'm
The
having some
one
trouble.
that's going to come with the one eye, I forgot his name.
Dajjal, yes.
Yeah, Dajjal. And how we often think like, oh, that could never happen to me. I'm Muslim and I would never be able to believe that. And if you think of like where we live now and how much things are going on and how we fall into victim to so many things, we like, like adopting taqwa, it's not for every single person, right? We could fall into believing him and we wouldn't even notice it because yeah.
It's so easy for human beings to get deceived. There's so much out there that if we get exposed to a lot of falsehood that's out there, that if we choose to remain exposed to it, we could become truly delusional. And that's very problematic because you only live in this dunya for some time. And then you definitely head towards your eternal abode. So we cannot afford to make a mess of our lives here, because that comes with dire consequences, irreversible ones. So Allah is the most merciful. That's why He's reminding us of these realities, so we don't make big mistakes, so that we don't become delusional. Okay. So after referring to the first part of the kalima tawheed, la ilaha illallah, the second part is now being mentioned. Muhammadur Rasulullah. So in verse number 23 we learn, وَإِن كُنْتُمْ فِي رَيْبٍ مِّمَّا نَزَّلْنَا عَلَىٰ عَبْدِنَا. And if you are in doubt about what we have sent down upon our servant, our worshipper, referring to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. فَأْتُوا بِسُورَةٍ مِّن مِّثْلِهِ. Then produce a surah, the like thereof. وَادْعُوا شُهَدَاءَكُم مِّن دُونِ اللَّهِ. And call upon your witnesses other than Allah. In kuntum sadiqin, if you should be truthful in your claim that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam speaks from himself and he claims that this is all divine revelation. If you are truthful in your claim, then okay, then you should also be able to generate something like this, like the Qur'an. Because if he can do it, you can do it. وَإِن كُنْتُمْ فِي رَيْبٍ مِّمَّا نَزَّلْنَا عَلَىٰ عَبْدِنَا. And if you are in doubt about what we have sent down upon our worshipper. وَإِن, combination of wa and in. In means if. It doesn't mean indeed here. Inna, as we've learned before, means indeed. In means if. But also make note that sometimes in can take on the meaning of indeed as well. Here it doesn't. Okay? Here in means if. So, wa in and if, kuntum, you all are. Notice also the term tum and kum, both are used for you all. So, if you all are fi in raib, doubt. Raib is from ra ya ba. Raib is a doubt that brings unrest. Mimma, about what? Mimma is a combination of min and ma, from and what, right? So here, mimma, min in the meaning of about. So if it is that you all are in doubt about what? Nazzalna, we sent down. Nazzalna from nun zai lam. Nazzala yunazzilu tanzil, it means to send gradually. So if you're in doubt about what we sent down, and we over here, this is the royal we used for Allah. Okay? So it does not take on the meaning of plural as we understand it. Okay? This is the royal we.
This is the style of the language. Okay? That the royal we is used where it is needed to be used. So Allah is saying about himself, we sent down. This is the royal we that he's using for himself, because there is no one more majestic than him. Okay? And also keep in mind that this style is not unique to only the Arabic language. Other languages also have something similar. Okay? So if you all are in doubt about what we sent down, ala, upon abadina, our worshipper. Now tell me about this term abadina. What do you think the root letters are? Ain badal. Abd means slave. Okay? The plural of abd is abid, but also ibad. Abid is plural and ibad is also plural. So here, who is abd referring to? Abadina, our worshipper, again, our. This is again the same royal we that is being used here out of respect. Okay? This should not be misunderstood in the sense that this is being used for plural. It's not. So always remember, when it comes to translation of meanings, keep the style of the language always in mind. And this is for any language. Otherwise, you can make big mistakes if you take everything literally. Okay? So here, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is being referred to as Abd of Allah, to show him respect, out of respect. This is not at all derogatory. Because ubudiyya, servitude to Allah, does not bring towards a person disrespect. It actually makes a person more respectable. Because a person who displays true ubudiyya, servitude, before Allah, has figured out his purpose in life. That's a big deal. That's something respectful. Because this person has figured out what? Allah is my matlub, maqsood, and mahbub. I love him the most, I respect him the most, I have most amount of hope in him. That's a big deal. That's something very good. You know, when we, even in the English language, want to convey to someone that we really love them deeply and respect them a lot, you know, we will write a note to them, write a letter to them, and say at the end, yours truly. Yours truly. Right? Meaning what? I love you a lot, respect you a lot, you mean a lot to me. So here this term abd is used for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam because he actually, through not just words but also all of his decisions in life, his choices, proved to be what? Truly a worshipper of Allah. Truly a worshipper of Allah. Also keep in mind, in the beginning we learned, when it comes to the first lesson of Surah Al-Baqarah, it was mentioned that ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ. And now here we learn this term rayb being mentioned again. So if there is any type of rayb, unsettling doubt, about what has been revealed upon Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, referring to the Qur'an, then what is the challenge? فَأْتُوا بِسُورَةٍ مِّن مِثْلِهِ. Then produce a surah, the like thereof. Here's the challenge. Now, since ibadah, since worship was mentioned before, here Allah mentions abadina and not Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam by name. And truly the worship of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, meaning his way of worshipping Allah, was the best. And that is why, as was mentioned earlier, when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would pray for long periods of time in the night and his feet would swell, the Sahaba, they would say to him that, you prolong your prayer although Allah has forgiven all of your past and future sins. How come you do this? So what did he say? Afala akunu abadan shakura. Should I not be a grateful slave? Should I not excel in terms of my ubudiyya? Why should I be satisfied at the basic level? So we see Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam worshipped out of gratitude. And so he is referred to as Abd over here. And he loved being referred to as Abd of Allah. Because the one who is identified as a slave, a true worshipper of Allah, has risen above enslavement of people and the nafs and shaitan. That's good news. We also learn that Abu Hurairah, he reports that Jibreel alayhi salam was with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and he looked towards the sky as an angel descended. Jibreel said, "Verily, this angel has not come down since the day he was created." The angel said, "O Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, your Lord has sent me to you with the offer that I make you a prophet, king, malikan nabiyya, or a servant messenger, abadan rasula." Jibreel said, "Be humble before your Lord, Ya Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam." Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, "Bal abadan rasulan." Rather, I will be a slave messenger, meaning a slave to Allah. Rasulan. So this description of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam removes any notion of him being claimed to be a deity. He's not a deity. He's not to be worshipped. He himself has been identified as a worshipper of Allah. So, if you are in doubt about what we have sent down upon our worshipper, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, فَأْتُوا بِسُورَةٍ مِّن مِّثْلِهِ, then produce a surah the like thereof. The term فَأْتُوا from Hamza ta ya. Ata means to come. And when this term is connected with bi, like it is here, فَأْتُوا bi surah, it gives the meaning of bringing. Okay. So then you all bring a surah. Again, this is a command. And the term surah from Sin Waw Ra is used for a chapter within which are enclosed certain verses and topics, ayat. The term sur is used for the wall of a city. The term siwar, as we learned earlier also, is used for a bracelet that adorns the arms. And the term surah can also mean nobility, excellence, elevated rank. So then produce a surah the like thereof, min mithlihi. Mithl means similar, as we've learned earlier. And min is added here, it is za'id, extra, for more emphasis. Produce a surah the like thereof. Bring a surah like the Qur'an, in terms of its eloquence, its fine arrangements, its bestowal of knowledge of the unseen. وَدَعُوا شُهَدَاءَكُمْ, and call upon your witnesses. وَدَعُوا from dal ayn waw. Da'a yad'u means to call. And the term shuhada, plural of shahid, from sheen ha dal. Shahid means witness. It can also mean supporter. So call upon your witnesses, meaning your supporters, min dunillah, other than Allah. Min duni means besides. And min is za'id, extra, here as well. So call your witnesses besides Allah in kuntum sadiqeen, if you should be truthful in your claim. The term sadiqeen from sad dal qaf. Sadiqeen is the plural of sadiq, and sadiq is one who is truthful, one who has sidq, truthfulness. And sidq is what is as per the reality. The opposite is kidb, which is misrepresentation of the reality. And again, when you look at the term sadiqeen ending with yanun, indication that this is a plural. Now this verse number 23 of Surah Al-Baqarah, this is one of the verses of tahaddi. Tahaddi meaning challenge. And there are 5 such verses in the Quran. One of them is this verse. Okay. And what are the other ones? Verse 38, Surah Yunus. أم يقولون افتراه قل فأتوا بسورة مثله. Or do they say about the Prophet, he invented it, meaning this revelation? Say, then bring forth a surah like it. This is also a verse of tahaddi. Then also verse 13 of Surah Hud. أم يقولون افتراه قل فأتوا بعشر سور مثله مفتريات. Or do they say he invented it, meaning this revelation? Say, then bring 10 surahs like it that have been invented. Then also verse 34 of Surah At-Tur. فَلْيَأْتُوا بِحَدِيثٍ مِثْلِهِ إِنْ كَانُوا صَادِقِينَ. Then let them produce a statement like it if they should be truthful. A statement like it. Meaning like this, Qur'an. That's also a verse of tahaddi. And also verse 88 of Surah Al-Isra, where Allah declares, say, if mankind and the jinn gathered in order to produce the like of this Qur'an, they would not be able to do so. And some people actually even tried to produce something like the Qur'an, but they terribly failed. Because the Qur'an is a standing, inimitable miracle. And miracles were granted to prophets depending on what the nations were involved in, were impressed by. Musa alayhi salam was given miracles, depending on his time frame. Isa alayhi salam was given miracles depending upon his time frame. In the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the society that he was in valued eloquence. The Arabs actually were very proud in terms of their language skills. These were basically desert dwellers. They weren't architects, they weren't hunters, they weren't really, very refined in their knowledge of arts and sciences. They expressed themselves very well with a very rich language. And so the Qur'an was granted to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as a miracle and a message combined in one that can never be imitated, it can never be outdated. It can never be defeated. So here we find in verse number 23 this challenge that has been issued, which no one has been able to meet and no one will be able to meet. So the choice of words when it comes to the Qur'an, its arrangement, its coherence, its commands, its prophecies, its beauty, its eloquence, cannot be imitated. And that is why every time you recite the Qur'an or you hear its recitation, you don't get tired. And that is if you really do recite and hear recitation with understanding. With other books, you get tired of reading the same book again and again. But the Qur'an, every time you come towards it, you enjoy it in a different way. And then here Allah mentions, فَإِن لَمْ تَفْعَلُوا وَلَن تَفْعَلُوا. But if you do not, and you will never be able to. If you do not, meaning you do not come with a surah like this, like the Qur'an, because you're not capable of it. Notice here again, فَإِن. In again taking on the meaning of if. لَمْ تَفْعَلُوا. You all do not do. Meaning you do not come with a surah like the Qur'an. And the term lam is used for negation, just like la is used for negation, and taf'alu from fa'ain lam. Fi'l means action. Walan taf'alu, and you all can never do. You will never do. What? Bring a surah like the Qur'an. And again, the term lan also is used for negation. So here Allah cuts off all hope with regards to this specific matter of producing something like the Qur'an. No one is ever going to be able to do this. This is an evidence of the truthfulness of the Qur'an. If you do not, and you will never be able to produce anything like the Qur'an, فَاتَّقُوا النَّارُ, then fear the fire. Fear and safeguard yourselves against the fire by believing in what has been revealed as divine revelation. Accept all of it. Don't doubt it. And notice here, فَاتَّقُوا, then you all fear. This is also a command. فَاتَّقُوا from waw qaf ya. And an-nar, the fire, referring to the hellfire. التي وقودها الناس والحجارة, whose fuel is men and stones. وقود from waw qaf dal. Waqud means fuel, that which keeps the fire burning. Now, the term allati is used here, the one which, feminine of alladhi. Alladhi is used for masculine, allati used for feminine. And why is allati used? Because of the fact that an-nar, it is actually feminine. Okay? And the word waqud from waw qaf dal. Istawqada was a term that we learned earlier from the same root letters. Waqud is fuel that is used to ignite fire. So, waquduha, ha is a feminine pronoun. Hu is a masculine pronoun. So again, the feminine pronoun being used because an-nar again is an ism that is feminine. And the term an-nas means the people. The term al-hijara from ha, jim, ra, the stones. Hajar means stone. And literally hajar, it means to stop or bar someone or something. And stones, when they come in the path, become what? Obstacles. We learn in Surah Al-Anbiya, verse 98, that Allah mentions, إِنَّكُمْ وَمَا تَعْبُدُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ حَصَبُ جَهَنَّمْ أَنْتُمْ لَهَا وَارِدُونَ. Indeed, you, disbelievers, and what you worship other than Allah are the firewood of hell. You will come to enter it. أُعِدَّتْ لِلْكَافِرِينَ. This hellfire that has been mentioned here, it is prepared for the disbelievers. The term u'iddat from ayn dal dal. Adad means quantity, numbering. I'dad literally means to number and count something. And so, when you look at this term, u'iddat ending with ta with a sukun, indicating that this is referring to the fire again, which has feminine gender, right? It's a noun of feminine gender. And the ta at the end indicating the meaning of it or she. We've discussed this earlier also. Okay? So, u'iddat, it has been prepared, meaning this fire. For whom? Lil kafirin, for the disbelievers. So, what do we learn from this? Number one, the hellfire exists as of now. Okay. Also, number two, these ayat give us the lesson of La ilaha illallah and Muhammadur Rasulullah. And it's very important to understand and accept this entire statement, the kalima of Tawheed. La ilaha illallah as well as Muhammadur Rasulullah. Because this is what actually differentiates between Iman and Kufr. So, what is the evidence that Allah deserves to be worshipped exclusively? He created all of us. He created the earth, the skies. He brought forth vegetation, provides for us in so many ways. And what is the evidence that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a messenger appointed and selected by Allah? The Qur'an itself is an evidence. At the beginning of Surah Yasin, an oath is taken, and what is mentioned? Wal Qur'anil Hakim, Yasin, wal Qur'anil Hakim, innaka laminal mursaleen. By the Qur'an, that is Al-Hakim. Indeed, you are from amongst the messengers. The Qur'an itself is an evidence that Allah selected Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for messengership. And how is this book a proof for the messengership of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? No one has been able to produce anything like the Qur'an for over a span of more than 1400 years. It was revealed at a time when people didn't really read and write much. There was no printing press. Still, it has been preserved. And Risala is being proven here. Messengership is being proven here. Because one cannot worship Allah truly without accepting the validity of divine revelation. In other words, religiosity is empty without scripture, without divine scripture. You cannot really be religious in the true sense without divine revelation having a clear place in your life. And then after mentioning the threat for those who disbelieve and deny messengership, the promise of reward for those who believe is mentioned. And this is a unique style of the Qur'an, that a deterrent is coupled with encouragement. When Allah mentions what casts fear into the hearts of people, after that He gives them hope. وَبَشِّرِ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, and give glad tidings to those who believe. You give good news. Who is you referring to? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the term bashir from ba, sheen, ra. The term bashara is used for the human skin. Bashar is the human being. Bashara yubashiru tabashir. It means to give good news. So the word bashara, you may be familiar with, it is used for conveying good news that pleases the recipient. And in fact, really good news has an impact on the skin. That's why, people will actually develop like goosebumps, or they will start to like blush when they receive a good news. Okay? So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is told, give glad tidings to those who believe, وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, and do righteous deeds. The term amilu, again ending with waw, indicating this is plural, is from ayn mim lam. And amal is different from fi'l. Amal is done with intent. Amal means action, but we learned fi'l also means action. Right? So amal is done with intent. Fi'l is sometimes without intent. And the term salihat from sad lam ha, plural of salihah. Salihah is one that is good and proper. Muslih, as we learned earlier, is one who does islah, brings about reformation. So good deeds are performed with faith, with love and respect for Allah, sincerity towards Allah, and conformity with the Sunnah method. So, give glad tidings to those who believe and perform righteous deeds. Anna lahum jannat, that they will have gardens in paradise. Anna means that indeed. And the term jannat, plural of jannah from jim nun nun. The term janeen is used for the fetus. Jannah basically means to hide, and the fetus is also hidden within the womb of the mother. Jannah as a term is used for a garden that is lush, so much so that the ground is not even visible because of the dense vegetation. So give glad tidings to those who believe and perform righteous deeds that they will have gardens, meaning in paradise, tajri min tahtiha al-anhar, beneath which rivers flow. Tajri from jim ra ya. Jara yajri basically means to flow. And min tahtiha, under them. Taht is the opposite of fawq. Fawq means above, taht means under. And tahtiha, ha referring to jannat, gardens. And the term al-anhar from nun ha ra, anhar plural of nahar. Nahar means river. And we actually learn of 4 types of rivers mentioned in the Qur'an. 4 types of rivers, meaning in Jannah. And rivers of Jannah don't have trenches and banks on their side. They're not confined. They're flowing on just the surface of the ground. Ibn al-Qayyim, he mentions that the rivers of Jannah flow without any banks, meaning there's no confinement, and they flow in a way that is pleasing, not at all causing damage. كُلَّمَا رُزِقُوا مِنْهَا مِنْ ثَمَرَةِ الرِّزْقَى, whenever they are provided with a provision of fruit therefrom, meaning they're given to eat from these gardens. And again, كُلَّمَا, harf shart, beginning a conditional phrase. Kul gives the meaning of every, so whenever, meaning every time. Ruziqu, they are provided. So in a conditional sentence, as we learned earlier also, the past tense verb takes on a present future tense meaning. Okay. And the term ruziqu from ra, zai, qaf. Rizq is provision, sustenance. So whenever they are provided minha, from them, meaning from the Jannat, not having to be like imported from some external place, from within the Jannat. Min thamaratin, any fruit at all. And the term thamara, singular of thamarat. So whenever it is that they are provided with any kind of fruit within Jannah, within these Jannat gardens, rizqan, as provision. Qalu, they will say, meaning the inhabitants of Jannah, they will say, هَذَا الَّذِي رُزِقُنَا مِن قَبْلِ, this is what we were provided with before. And qalu, from qaf waw lam, the waw at the end indicating this is plural. So from qaf waw lam we have learned the term qul, which means you say. Qala means he said, right? Qila, it was said. And qalu, they will say. So they will say, Hada, this, alladhi, is that which, ruziqna, we were provided, again from ra, zai, qaf. We were given, min qabl, before. Meaning in the dunya or in Jannah itself. Meaning this is similar to what we were given before in the dunya. And this similarity will only be outwardly. Meaning in terms of the shape of the fruit perhaps, or some element of its texture or color. Although the taste will be completely different. And also it is said before refers to earlier, during their time in Jannah. وَأُتُوا بِهِ مُتَشَابِهًا. And the reason why they think like this is because it is given to them in likeness, similar in appearance but different in taste. The term mutashabiha from sheen ba ha. Shabih means to resemble in nature or appearance. And what else will they have in Jannah? وَلَهُمْ فِيهَا أَزْوَاجٌ مُطَهَّرَةٌ. And they will have their impurified spouses. And Allah did not specify what this purity is related to. So it implies they will be pure in each and every way. From external impurities and also internal impurities. External impurities like defecation, etc. Bad smells, right? Menstruation. And in the intangible sense, from jealousy and hatred, deception. The term azwaj, plural of zawj. Zawj means one of a pair. It can mean spouse, from zai, waw, jim. Ziwaj is used for marriage. And when only the wife is being referred to, the term used is zawjah. Okay? So for them in Jannah will be azwaj, spouses. Mutahhara, once completely purified. Mutahhara from ta'a ra. Tuhur means to be clean. Wahum fiha khalidun, and they will abide therein eternally. They, meaning the ones who have iman and righteous deeds, will abide in paradise eternally. The term khalidun from lam dal, plural of khalid. Khalid is one who remains. Khulud means to stay forever and never leave. It is to stay in a perfect state. Khuld is eternity. So they will remain in Jannah, in paradise, happily ever after, truly, in the real sense. And this state of being happy forever and ever, happily ever after, is a state that cannot be attained in this dunya. It is for which place? Jannah, and Jannah only. We learn in Surah As-Sajdah, verse 17, that Allah mentions, فَلَا تَعْلَمُ نَفْسٌ مَا أُخْفِيَ لَهُم مِّن قُرَّةِ أَعْيُنٍ جَزَاءً بِمَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. No soul knows what is kept hidden in reserve for them of joy as a reward for what they used to do. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, Allah said, I have prepared for my righteous worshippers such things as no eye has ever seen, no ear has ever heard of, and nobody has ever thought of. And then he recited this verse of Surah As-Sajdah. And Also in Surah Al-Hijr, verse 47, we learn, وَنَزَعْنَا مَا فِي صُدُورِهِم مِّنْ غِلٍّ إِخْوَانًا عَلَى سُرُرٍ مُتَقَابِلِينَ. And we will remove whatever is in their breasts of resentment, so they will be brothers on thrones facing each other. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, a caller will announce, verily you, meaning inhabitants of Jannah, will be healthy and never sick again. You will live and never die again. You will be young and never grow old again. Such is the word of the Almighty. They will be called, this is your Jannah that you have inherited for what you have done. You have inherited, meaning it's yours. You're never going to be told to leave. So this world is the place where Allah created human beings to be, gave them His recognition, sent messengers, told them to worship Him, showed people the direction, so that they can eventually enter into Jannah. But who is that Jannah for? Those who submit before Allah and worship Him on His terms. So the purpose of our existence is ibadah, worshiping Allah. The benefit of this is Jannah, bliss and everlasting joy forever. The place where happily ever after becomes a reality. Okay, the reflection question for this lesson is, am I grateful to my Rabb at the level of the heart, tongue, and limbs for creating me and then also providing me with the necessities and comforts of life? Action points: try to learn the definition of ibadah. Then also make a list of blessings mentioned, in particular the blessings mentioned in verse 22. And try to choose one blessing from this list. And do some research about it. And also be prepared to share your findings with your peers in group time. Okay, so you could perhaps look at like one type of fruit and do some quick research with regards to its benefits. And then share that with your peers. Okay, inshallah. All right, we'll end here for today. Tomorrow, inshallah, when we continue, we will go back to some of these last few verses, reflect a little bit more deeply with regards to what is mentioned, the good news that is mentioned here in verse number 25. Okay, inshallah. All right, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد